Hello, vinyl community. Hope you're all doing well. This is Midge, a guy in a hat who loves to talk about records, and welcome to Midge's Vinyl Gems. Today I'll be talking about my R's again. That's my recent repetitive rotations. But before I get on to that, I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap because this week I hit 50 subscribers, which was absolutely amazing. I was really blown away by that. I couldn't believe it. So I've only been doing this channel since March, and like 50 people, that's sort of like that's about how many you can get on a minibus, isn't it? So, well, if you're happy with me driving the minibus, that's a bit worrying. But yeah, I was blown away by that. So I wasn't expecting that at all. So when I started this channel in March, it should have been January. It was like a New Year's resolution thing, but I made loads of excuses not to start doing it. I've been watching vinyl community videos for years and really enjoyed them, but I never thought, I'd be good at doing it, which has been borne out really. But basically, I made lots of excuses not to do it. I thought in one way that my collection was too not of interest really to anybody. I listen to a lot of what I would call like weird shit and experimental stuff, but also I love a lot of mainstream stuff and a lot of cheesy stuff. So I wasn't sure whether that would be something that people would want to watch, but obviously a small amount of you do, you weirdos. And also because when you're watching a lot of vinyl community videos, I think you come to realize over time it's not always about the records, because you get invested in people as well, don't you? Because there's some channels I watch where I'm not really into the music that they show, but because they've got such a great personality and such an engaging personality, you sort of get drawn in and you enjoy watching them. And I wasn't sure if I had that sort of a personality or any personality at all, so that was another reason not to start doing one. But yeah, I pushed myself into doing it, and a lot of cool things have happened so far already. And last week, Jack of the Vinyl Voyage invited me on his channel to do a music quiz with Mike's Vinyl Spiral, which I really enjoyed. I was a bit nervous beforehand, but really enjoyed doing it, and I had a great chat to the pair of them afterwards about records, believe it or not, and I just really enjoyed it. And yeah, so some cool things have happened already. So really enjoyed that, and people have been very friendly and welcoming, especially Rob Walker and Let the Music Play, and obviously Jack at the Vinyl Voyage have been very supportive and encouraging. So that's made me continue to carry on and make these things, even though they take several takes and hours to put together because I'm so bad at this. But anyway, it's made me think, I'll perhaps continue a little while longer and just, see how it goes and see, But yeah, 50 subscribers, so thank you to everybody who subscribed. I don't know why you're here, but I'm glad you're here. And but you're not interested in that, you're interested in the records, aren't you? So without further ado, let me show you my recent repetitive rotations. These are things that have been on my turntable a lot recently, so some are old, some are new. So without further ado, the first one I've been listening to a lot recently is the soundtrack to the 1970 TV documentary about the human body. And this one is Music from the Body by Ron Geeson and Roger Waters. Roger Waters, obviously, from Pink Floyd. Ron Geeson is a soundtrack composer. He does soundtracks for TV and film. He also does a lot of avant-garde type music. He's a multi-instrumentalist. He works a lot with tape loops. His music's obviously quite avant-garde, but I love Ron Geeson. If you like this album, then check out some of Ron Geeson's solo albums because they're superb. All very strange, all very off-kilter, but great for it. And I have seen the documentary The Body. It was quite a while ago now, and I don't remember a lot about it. Although I do remember it seemed to be quite stark, to be honest with you, quite doomy, quite depressing. Perhaps it was the way in which it was filmed. Obviously, it's very early 1970s. But a couple of scenes have really stuck with me, and there was one where they were showing you how the human body ages. So they got like this big warehouse floor, and they'd got like newborn babies and toddlers and prepubescents and middle-aged people going into old age. And there was about 100 people in a line that snaked along this warehouse, and the camera pans along it, and it shows you how people develop and grow. I mean, they did ask a lot of these people to be naked, which was a bit off-putting at times. But yeah, the camera pans along the whole section of people, right to one of the, who I don't know how old they were, one of the oldest people there. And then the camera pans out and you can see them all snaked around this warehouse. It's just amazing shot. It was cool. And another section is when the documentary shows you how much food you consume in a lifetime. And that bit has a Roger Waters voiceover on it. And that's really cool, talking about how many eggs and how many, ice cream sandwiches you eat in your lifetime and things like that. That's a really cool shot as well.
I've got some stuff here and I want you to eat it, okay? Now I want you to start off on the milk. Now when you finish the milk, you can move on to the eggs. Now I don't care how you have them, omelette, poached, fried, scrambled, boiled, up to you. Couldn't care less. But I do want you to eat them all. Finish the lot. You got 50 years. After the eggs, nice cup of coffee. I should think the nice cup of coffee will come as a welcome change when you finish the eggs. And you can wash it down with lard, margarine and sugar. Lovely. Then you could have a sandwich. I mean, there's a few sandwiches there. Look at that. Ice cream sandwich. Why not? Probably very tasty. Come on, have an ice cream sandwich.
But music-wise, this is quite avant-garde. It's a lot of it's orchestrally arranged. The first track, Our Song, is brilliant. It's sort of like a sound collage, but it's all made by noises you can make with your own body. So there's lots of flatulence from both ends. There's burps, there's babies' giggles, there's people slapping their thighs and arms and things like that and clapping. That's really cool. So that's quite a fun way to start the album. And there's loads, it just goes through loads of different sort of avant-garde type effects and things like that. There's lots of orchestral arrangements on it. And also Roger Waters was brought in, I think because they asked Ron Geeson to provide some songs for this soundtrack as well, and he brought Roger Waters in to do these. And it's obviously very much of the time in terms of Pink Floyd as well, because Ron Geeson and Roger Waters also worked together on Atom Heart Mother in the same year. Obviously the Floyd had loads of these sort of small pieces of music, and Ron Geeson was brought in to put them together, and that made up the 20-minute title track of Atom Heart Mother. Roger Waters was going through a bit of a sort of like an acoustic period at this point, did a lot of acoustic songs. So there's If on Atom Heart Mother, and if you know that song, then a lot of the songs he contributes on here are of the same ilk. It's sort of like Roger Waters on an acoustic guitar. So you've got all these sort of avant-garde orchestral arrangements and noises, and then you've got Roger coming in with his songs, and they are pretty cool, to be honest. And also what's interesting is you can also see the beginnings of Dark Side of the Moon here. There's a track on here called Breathe, which is a great song by Roger Waters. Again, it's acoustic based, and it's about really good lyrics. Obviously, Roger Waters is a great lyricist. It's a song about how we pollute the air and how we've got to enjoy the meadows and the fields and things because we're slowly poisoning ourselves, and it's really cool. But obviously the lines in there, breathe in the air. So there's the start of him venturing towards Dark Side of the Moon there, which is quite interesting. Also, there's some amazingly cool song titles on here. You can tell Ron Geeson's a bit of a joker. So there's some great song titles on here. There's Lick Your Partners, Bridge Passage for Three Plastic Teeth, More Than Seven Dwarves in Penis Land, which is a great song title. Also, as a side note, it was sampled by DJ Shadow on Introducing. If you can't remember what track it is, but it's sort of like the track with the sort of the Gregorian chant type voices in. That's where he's got it from. That's where he sampled it from. Dance of the Red Corpuscles. You've got Piddling Perspex, Mrs. Throat Goes Walking. It's just a great bizarre soundtrack, and you used to see this all the time when I was younger in the racks, but it seems to be harder to find now, and I think it has gone up in price. I think a lot of people bought it on, like I say, on the Pink Floyd element of it, and then thought, what's this weird shit, and then just got rid of it. So and it obviously at the end of the day, it is a soundtrack. So, you know, obviously it makes more sense in the context of the documentary, but I would still highly recommend it. It's a great listen. It's a great, strange listen. And also, what's another interesting fact about this album, there's a track on here which is basically a Pink Floyd song, but it's never mentioned as such. There's probably a few reasons for that. But the last song on the album, Give Birth to a Smile, features all of Pink Floyd and Ron Geeson. So it's basically a Pink Floyd track. They all play on it. But perhaps the reason why it's not sort of as sought after is because it's the most unlike Pink Floyd track you'll hear. For a start, it's upbeat and it's positive. So, I mean, Roger Waters isn't really known for writing upbeat and positive songs, is he? But I really like this song. It's basically it's sort of like an upbeat song about the human race, and it's got a great chorus of soul singers in it. They're not credited who they are, but the chorus, Give Birth to a Smile, is belted out like from a chorus of soulful female singers, and it's great. But like I say, Pink Floyd all play on it, but it's not particularly known. This album's not really known for including a Pink Floyd song in, but probably because it's not really your typical Pink Floyd song, that it's often ignored. So that might be a reason why it's not highlighted as such. So yeah, a great strange listen if you fancy a listen, and obviously the Pink Floyd connection. It's on Harvest, and I've always liked the fact that they've got that small picture of Roger and Ron on it on each side. So yeah, so that's The Body by Ron Geeson and Roger Waters from 1970. Next up, another more recent group that's a favourite of mine, and that's Salt, SAULT. And I love Salt, not just on my chips, but I love the band. Salt are basically Dean Clover and Cleo Sol. Dean Clover's probably better known as the producer Inflow. He produces albums for Michael Kiwanuka. And this is sort of like the Salt are surrounded in mystery. When they first started a couple of years ago, I picked up on them because they're in the Piccadilly Records albums of the year, and they looked really strange and interesting, so I thought I'd check them out. I think they released 2 albums that year. They're as prolific as King Gizzard, Salt, so they bring out a couple of albums per year, but they're all really top quality. So at first they were absolutely surrounded in mystery. Nobody knew who they were, how many people were involved. They didn't do interviews, they didn't do press, they didn't play live. But their sound is just basically, it's just beautiful retro type soul. And they've released so many albums since, I think it's 2005, could be wrong, about 12 albums. All of really good, really high quality, just like King Gizzard basically. It's just, you know, a lot of prolific albums, but they're all high quality. They don't tend to give much away about themselves. Like I say, they don't do press. They've only done 1 concert, I think, since they've formed. Nobody really knows who was in it. It's like a studio collective under the production of Dean Clover, basically. This is Acts of Faith. This was released on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, digitally last year, and it's just had a vinyl reissue, at last a physical release. So I absolutely adore Salt, and they do like a lot of different types of albums. So they've all like got a chain of being connected in terms of black music. So there's gospel, there's soul, there's African chants. They do lots of different type of music, but it's all bound together under like a soul umbrella. Cleo Sol's voice is beautiful. They have a lot of guest stars on here, but obviously they don't tell you who they are. But it's not the same old music. They do lots of different types of music within their albums. There was even one a while ago, I think it was called 11. It was Tomorrow or something, I think it was called, and it was quite post-punky. So they do vary the sound quite a lot. This one is obviously, as the title suggests, it's very sort of soul gospel, and there's lots of religious underpinnings to it. So they are quite religious, but you can enjoy it. I mean, you know, you don't have to be religious to enjoy the albums. And this is superb. It's sort of like all the songs segue into each other. So it sounds a bit like, in terms of the actual flow of it, like Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. It's that good. It's sort of all flows into one. It's one, like, it's only about half an hour, but it all flows into one. on a lot of the songs talk about religious affirmations, and they often repeat the song titles like a mantra, and it's just glorious. Lots of great string arrangements, lots of great piano sounds. But like, they don't give a lot away in terms of the artwork and things. They're always in black sleeves. There's no inner sleeves. There's no credits or anything. I mean, this one doesn't even have a track listing on this one, but just a great sounding album. If you like soul and you like retro soul, then I highly recommend you check out Salt. They're an absolutely superb act, and I think they've got another album coming out this year as well, which was actually released this year. It was actually made this year. That's awaiting a physical release as well. So highly recommend checking out Salt. Like I say, gorgeous soul, gorgeous strings, lots of great arrangements. Just, yeah, Salt, Acts of Faith, well worth checking out. Next up, talking of King Gizzard, it's not the latest one, but they've just released Laminated Denim, which I think is, if I remember rightly, is from 2022, and it's their 22nd album. Yeah, 22nd album. And like Salt, King Gizzard, absolutely love King Gizzard. They hardly ever put a foot wrong, in my opinion. They're so prolific. They release so many albums, but they all seem to be of a high quality. They've all got different concepts. And the thing about this one is this was a bit of a gap for me, because it was released in the year, I think it was 2022, and they released 5 albums again that year. And this was one of the ones that came at the end of the year. It did get a vinyl reissue, but it was only through the band's website. But for some reason, they've given it a more widely available vinyl release this year, which I'm really pleased about, because it was a bit of a gap in the collection otherwise. They have had another album out this year. I've just picked that one up, so I'll talk about that on a later video. But this was a great gap filler, and it's got a great sleeve. I don't know if you can see that, but it's embossed all over, which is nice. And also it's pressed on eco wax, which is when they put together, they don't waste all the elements of the wax. Once they've done a pressing, they keep it and they all splodge it together and make a new vinyl pressing. So obviously King Gizzard are quite an ecological band, so they use an eco wax, what they call it, and usually it ends up being sort of like a murky grey sludgy type colour when they do that. But I was quite pleased with this one, because it's come out as like a orangey type one, which was nice for a change. So yeah, Laminated Denim, this is sort of like a follow-up to an album they made, I think at the start of that year, called Made in Timeland, and that was 2 tracks, both 15 minutes long, and it was sort of like a venture into, because King Gizzard try their hand at every single genre that's going, and it was a bit of a dance fusion type album. So there were both like a lot of techno influences and dance influences, but this was recorded at the same time. So again, 2 tracks, both 15 minutes long. Laminated Denim is actually an anagram of Made in Timeland, which is clever as well. So that's the connection between the two. But unlike Made in Timeland, Laminated Denim is 2 sort of like jam orientated tracks. So there's no sort of like electronic elements there. It's just the band playing and jamming and stretching out. And it's great. It's sort of like got some really cool guitar interplay that runs through both tracks. Lots of noodling, lots of spreading out, but lots of wah-wah and pedal guitar, and it just sounds great. So it's really one of the really strong albums, I think, from King Gizzard. So like, even though it's only 2 tracks, they both spread out to 15 minutes, and you get your money's worth. So yeah, loving this at the moment. That's the Giz, and you get your lyrics there. But yeah, it was a bit of a gap in the collection till they released it this year. So that's Laminated Denim by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And I'll get around to reviewing the new one in a couple of weeks as well. Next up, a charity shop find. I don't have a lot of luck with charity shops in Sheffield. I'd still go in them, and I still regret going in them every time I go in them, because you just get fed up of plodding through the same Mantovani and Joe Loss and Joe Longthorne, Richard Clayderman, you name it. And I'd very rarely strike gold these days because people are too aware, aren't they, of what it is they're selling. Or another bugbear of mine is you get charity shops finding semi-rare albums and they're all battered to shit and they still put 250 quid price tags on them and things like that. So it's a very dispiriting process going into charity shops these days. But I went in one recently and was surprised to find this, and it's Tencc's 10 out of 10 from 1981. Now, I absolutely adore Tencc. Got into them as a teenager, absolutely loved their albums. They always, was it John Lennon who said that if you want to know what the Beatles sound like in the 70s, listen to an ELO album? I mean, he has got a point, but to me, Tencc were like the Beatles of the 70s. Really creative, really imaginative songs, really managed arrangements, great songwriters, just great pop songwriters as well, and arty, and so many different genres of music they tackle. Just really creative, really talented, and obviously big 10cc fan, but I didn't go into the later albums, so I was surprised to see this. And I've never tried it before. This is like one of the later ones, like I say, from 81. So I thought it was worth a punt from being in a charity shop, and it's in good nick. Absolutely love it. I think it's a great album. Obviously, by this stage, they were down to just Graham Goldman and Eric Stewart. They were a two-piece by then. So, but lots of session musicians filling in and things. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this at the moment. It's a great album, and obviously, I absolutely love that cover. It looks like a Hypnosis cover, doesn't it? But it isn't. But yeah, love that cover. And it's based on a song on the album called No Tell Motel, which is about strange things going on in a hotel, and it plays on the lyrics for that. But another great, that's a typical 10cc song, a bit of a story song, lots of cool elements added in, quirky lyrics, and yeah, just superb. But like I said, this was made in 1981. Apparently, the US pressing has got some different songs on it. They tried to make them a bit more susceptible to an American audience, so they invited the American songwriter Andrew Gold in to co-produce and co-write some of the tracks, which were left off the UK version, but added to the US version. So apparently the US version's different, and obviously Graham Goldman and Andrew Gold worked together as Wax later on. But like I say, this has got some great songs on it. Don't Ask, Overdraft in Overdrive, which is again a typical 10cc song. Quirky, funny story lyrics about a guy who's just got no money left, and all of a sudden he inherits a fortune, so all his worries are solved. Don't Turn Me Away is a great sort of pop song, very catchy. No Tell Hotel, which I've already mentioned. Action Man in a Motown Suit, great title and a great song. Les Nouveaux Rich, which is a pop at the jet setting life of the rich, and just a great album. I was surprised how good it was. I mean, obviously I love 10cc, but sometimes with artists you think the later albums might not be worth investigating, but this one definitely is. So I was really pleased to get a copy of this, and like I say, it's in good nick from a charity shop. So yeah, really enjoying this at the moment. So that's 10cc's 10 out of 10. Next up, we have a bit of world music. I think this is from 1978. A bit of world music, and William Onyeabor and Atomic Bomb. I mean, just look at that cover. That is an amazing cover in William's homemade studio in Nigeria in the 70s. It looks like he's been attacked by microphones there, doesn't it? But it's just such a cool picture. And I've been meaning to check out his albums for some time. They were all reissued by Luaka Bop about 10 years ago, but they're bringing them back out again now. So I've checked this one out. Atomic Bomb, great cover, like I say. Extended songs, like they usually are for Afrobeat albums. So you've got, I think there's 5 songs altogether on here. Absolutely superb. And I think he plays a lot of the instruments himself. So there's obviously like very squelchy synthesizer type sound. There's lots of cool, soulful female backing vocals on it. Just really funky, really sort of like quirky sounds, and just great Afrobeat, just really uplifting. Obviously, a lot of the songs have really positive messages about love and the fact that, which is probably more relevant than ever, there's a song called Better Change Your Mind saying America, Russia, China, Canada, Britain, do you think the world is yours? Well, guess again, because it belongs to God. And in his eyes, anyway, it belongs to God. So basically, there's a higher power. So the world isn't yours to take over. It's God's. Well, yeah, if you believe that sort of thing. And Atomic Bomb is a great track. And Shame about not helping out the poor when you're rich. And it's just, yeah, great positive, great upbeat, great rhythms. And like I say, the thing I like about Afrobeat is, it's always really, upbeat, and it extends. It's great summary music. So, yeah, really enjoying this at the moment. Atomic Bomb by William Onyeabor. Really need to get some more of his albums. And this is pressed on a red sort of, I don't know if you can see in this light, red sort of marble vinyl, which is nice. So yeah, really enjoying that at the moment. And lastly, I've been playing this album a lot recently, De La Soul. I love De La Soul, and this is their third album, Bloom Mind State, from 1993. Obviously, De La Soul have had a lot of problems with catalogue issues and rights ownership over the years, so it was good a couple of years ago that they got all the catalogue back together. It's all available on streaming. They sorted out all the samples and the rights issues. So I think this is always been an underrated album for me. I think it's really good, and I think it should be as well known as the first two. So this is De La Soul's third album. So the first album obviously was 3 Feet High and Rising, massive runaway success, really classic sound. And De La Soul is Dead, the second album, was sort of like a retreat from that and saying don't label us as hippies, and a bit of a backlash against that album. But that was underrated too, I felt. But the thing about this album is it sounds like a mixture of the first two in terms of it still has that clever sampling arrangements, has the quirky sort of raps, but it has sort of like it's not as hippified as the first one, so there's still an edge to him that the second album brought in. So this is probably the album that sounds most like them in terms of how they wanted to be seen as or viewed as. So this was also the last album that was produced by Prince Paul before they moved on to other producers. So it's got that great sort of sampling element to it. There's also a lot of live music brought into this album as well. So they got the horn section from the JBs to play on a couple of tracks. So you've got Maceo Parker and Fred Wesley and Pee Wee Ellis. So that adds another element to the album, and it's just a great hip hop album. It's the Posthumous especially, I think, is a great rapper. I don't understand half of what they're going on about half the time. I think this is very much like the first album. There's lots of in jokes. There's lots of like things that only they would know about. But it's just them being them. I think there was a lot of. It's like their first album. Like I don't suppose at the time they thought that anybody would really hear it. So it's just them being them and in jokes and things like that. So it is sort of like a throwback to that in a way. But there's a few guest stars on it. Guru from Gang Star's on here. Biz Marquis on here. And a female rapper called Shorty en Masse, which is she's got a really great voice, and she's almost she's on a loads of tracks on here, which adds another element to it. But yeah, it's just really funky. It flows really well. The samples are great. And it's just, I think it's a really underrated De La Soul album. The Bloom Mind State is basically refers to the fact that they're saying there's a chant in the song that goes, we might blow up, but we won't go pop. So basically they're saying, we want to stay true to what we are, but we're not going to sell out. We're not going to start doing, pop rap and things like that. So it just sounds like an album where they're just enjoying being themselves again, and it's great to see all their stuff back on catalogue again. I think some of the samples had to be taken off for things that they couldn't get clearances for, but it's just great to have all their albums available physically and on digital again. So yeah, been really enjoying this. It's got a really summery vibe as well to it, so really underrated, this album, I think. So really worth checking out. And that's it. That's my recent repetitive rotations. I'm trying to make my videos a bit shorter, although I can see that this isn't happening, so apologies for that. Perhaps I only ought to talk about 2 albums per video from now on. But yeah, But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for continuing to watch, and I'll see you on the next video. So see you later.